Radio Harrow's 60 Days of Summer.
Here is a breakfast that's almost too good to be true, and yet it is.
Breakfast.
Radio Harrow.
And a very good morning to you, Harrow, a good morning to you, world, and a good morning to Gaz Reynolds, who joins us in the studio. Hi, Gaz.
Good morning, Gary, and it's nice to be on a brand new radio station.
Thank you very much. Welcome to Radio Harrow.
I know, it looks absolutely amazing. The studio's absolutely wonderful.
Our ceilings are up in place. There are no water pouring down, no leaks, no electrical shorts.
A lovely logo as well.
Yes, our Radio Harrow logo. I submitted about 30 options for the logo. They were all dismissed.
Oh.
And somebody else was the winner of the logo competition.
Oh.
But it's a great one. I think
it really does look really good.
It's really nice.
And the website's amazing as well.
Yeah. So, of course, World Domination Records is, you have a #1 song in the Australian dance chart.
I know, amazing. And, you know, when I was last on your show a few weeks back when we did the phone interview,
yep.
And I just hit the dance charts in Australia at #1, literally a few days after that, you and I made worldwide news. So our story sort of broke top 40 news around the world. That was published in New York. Also, I just saw a couple of days ago that the story had also broken on Irish radio. I've never actually had any stories publicised about my music in Ireland before, so that was quite exciting. And MI2N, which is the major music network for radio and music news around the world, published the story as well, so that was really exciting stuff.
Okay, good stuff. Anyway, this is Breakfast on Radio Harrow. One other thing we have to, of course, take care of is our breakfast brainbuster for this morning. It was sort of leaked. It was a bit of a leak earlier in the morning when I mistakenly was setting up my automated tweets of the different parts of the show, and I forgot to put the schedule in. It just sort of went out at 5 o'clock in the morning. But most parents think it's easier to do this with girls than with boys. The question is, what? And that is our brainbuster for this morning. If you have an answer to that one, let us know. You can tweet at Radio Harrow, or you can tweet me using the hashtag RHBreakfast for Radio Harrow Breakfast. Most parents think it's easier to do this with girls than with boys. Can you guess at this one, Gaz?
The laundry?
Yeah, that would be possible, but no, not the right answer. So, World Domination Records, you have, of course, a studio-based...
Well, yeah, I guess I'm a bit of an unusual character as Radio Harrow sort of publicised on their website a couple of weeks ago on that nice story that they had featured on the site. I think it's still there, actually.
Yep.
So I own a record label, but I also own a driving school, and I'm also a musician myself, so I have had quite a few records out over the years. So I own World Domination Records, which is the label that I release all my own music on, but also I release a lot of other artists that we've got signed to the label from around the world. And at the moment, I've got a chart hit, or a re-chart entry, shall I say, because it's from a record that I released 10 years ago, had success with, and it's its 10th anniversary, decided to re-release it, and it went straight into #1 on the Australian dance charts, and it seems to be bubbling in Europe now, so there's lots of talk of tours and all kinds of stuff going on.
Great, and of course you are performing in that. Do you have anybody else that performs with you for those records?
No. It's just I write. I'm a solo performer, so I write all my own material. I do have a band that comes out with me on tour, but I wrote all the music and wrote all the songs, and obviously I'm singing.
Okay, and we're going to start one off. Should we just go ahead, jump right in, so people can have a little bit of a flavour of what kind of music, what your music sounds like?
There's a little story behind this one. I think you're just about to hit the button on In This House.
Yep.
That kind of was the record that got me started, and I wrote that when I was 14. I've told you this story before. I think it was probably about a year ago. I sent it off to a radio promoter out in West Hollywood, called Harry Rosen, who's very famous. He used to be the head of Island Records, and a friend of mine, Viola Wills, who's passed away now, but she was like one of the top disco divas in the 70s and 80s. She did backing vocals on the track for me. I'm the main lead vocal, and we had a lot of major chart success out in America and Canada and around the world, particularly on radio. We started hitting a lot of the radio charts as well, so we've got loads of radio airplay. If you go on YouTube, you can hear me on quite a lot of different interviews on different radio shows around the US. Just type in Gaz Reynolds, or you can visit my new official website that's just gone online, www.gazworld, that's G-A-Z, world.com.
Okay, so here it is. It's called In This House on Radio Harrow. There it is. Gaz Reynolds in this house on Radio Harrow. It's 13 minutes after 8 o'clock. So, Gaz, tell us a bit about where do you get your inspirations from for some of the songs you write?
It's all about my life, basically. So I had quite a tough childhood. So I have written quite a lot of songs about that. Not all negative. Some of it's very positive. I'm currently working on a new album at the moment, which is about a whole load of new experiences that I've been experiencing or have experienced in later life. But it will still be with the dance pop sort of context, and hopefully we get radio airplay on the new material when it comes out. I haven't got a release date yet because I'm still working on the tracks in the studio at the moment. But yeah, it's basically from travelling around around the world in different countries, I get ideas. I might meet people who might inspire me to write a song. So there's a whole load of stuff that actually sort of inspires me to write these tracks. So it's been great fun.
Okay, and if you're following on Twitter, by the way, and you follow me, which is at Mvivu, M-V-I-V-U, we're broadcasting live on Periscope just now as well. So if you have any questions for Gaz, you can send them along to the Periscope. Just send them on your screen to the chat. And Gaz, of course, is here in the studio with me, and you can see Gaz is holding up his phone showing me.
Hello everyone on Periscope and everyone on Harrow FM, everyone who's tuning online, and we're basically broadcasting around the world at the moment. So, and also we'll have a copy of this on YouTube. So hello YouTubers.
So there we are here on Radio Harrow.
This is breakfast.
Everybody satisfied.
Radio Harrow.
So we are with Gaz Reynolds here at Radio Harrow, broadcasting live around the world on www.radioharrow.org. And Gaz, you mentioned you have a new website.
I have. It's gazworld.com. That's www.gazworld.com. We can just type in Gaz Reynolds. You can also check me out on my record label's website, which is World Domination Records. That's www.worlddominationrecords.com. And of course also I own a driving school, which seems to be attracting quite a lot of celebrities these days, and that's gr8drive.com.
And your driving school, I understand you had a comedian was your latest...
Who you don't like.
It's not that I don't like. I was actually hoping you were going to bring him along and we would bury the hatchet. Maybe it's just he's made a couple comments, and one of them about how there's nothing funnier than a fat person falling down. And I was thinking the only thing that could be funnier is a fat person falling down on top of him.
Let's hope he's not tuned in to this morning.
Well, maybe he is, and I'm happy we meet face to face and we discuss this like men. That of course. Can I mention the name?
Yes, you can.
Yeah, Russell Howard,
yeah.
who I used to watch when he was on Mock the Week, and
he's got so many different shows. At the moment.
Now
it's unbelievable.
He's got his Good News, and I watch his Good News show once in a while.
I never actually found him funny. I told him that as well to his face.
It's interesting. There was an article on Mock the Week a couple weeks ago, right, how difficult the show is, and they were talking about Andy Parsons, who's not on the show anymore,
right,
and how it was tough when you give six celebrities, comedian celebrities, plus you add in what's his name, the host of the show, Dara O'Brien, so 7 comedians all struggling for their chance to try to be funny. And sometimes some of the off-air stuff got actually quite hurtful. That they could get into some disagreements about stuff which never made it to the cuts or even to the DVDs. Some funny stuff from that show, though, as well.
It's a good job we get on well, though, isn't it? Because we're live on Periscope as well now. How many people have you got tuned in?
We've got 6 on Periscope.
That's really good.
Yeah.
We've only just gone on there.
Yeah.
So that's streaming online, isn't it?
Yeah. And if you have any questions that you want to ask Gaz, you're welcome to here on Periscope.
We had a couple of girls come on there say, "Hey, sexy."
Yeah. Well, we had one. Also, by the way, if you have questions for Gaz and you want to get in touch with us on Twitter, you can do that. You can just tweet at Radio Harrow, or you can tweet RH Breakfast, which use the hashtag RH Breakfast, or you can use the hashtag. You could tweet me, which is at Mvivu, M-V-I-V-U, which is Kiswahili for lazy person. Of course, Kiswahili, a very popular language at the moment because U.S. President Barack Obama is in Kenya.
I know, I saw that on the news this morning.
He's visiting his home of his father. Of course, many Americans think he's Kenyan anyway. They don't believe he's actually American and think he's a Kenyan. And it's sort of funny because I had a joke a few minutes ago about the fact that knowing the Kenyan people, and he's visiting a lot of his relatives, my question is, how many of them have asked him for a loan? I'm sure all of them have.
Oh, I'm sure they have.
It's like, oh, it's so good to see you, cousin. Now, my farm has a bit of a problem. If you could just lend me some money. I mean, I still get, and it's been 8 years since I left Africa, On a daily basis, I've got somebody from Africa ask me if I could help them out. Daily, I get people asking if I can help them out, so I can just see. Anyway, and of course, it's been an amazing place, Nairobi, in the last 24 hours. Streets that are always packed, huge traffic jams, empty, absolutely empty. They've got over 10,000 police officers.
Yeah, I saw that literally the streets are just totally empty, aren't they?
Yeah. So, in the meantime, getting back to some music, I think you have. We're going to play the number one song that you have right now.
Oh, Some Forgive.
Some Forgive in the Australian charts.
Yes, it's number one in the Australian dance charts. It started charting around the world now, and also the week that Some Forgive went to number one in the Australian dance charts, another one of my records from my Orgasmic album. Actually went in the Australian dance charts at number 9, so I had 2 chart entries within 2 weeks out in Australia, which was pretty amazing.
Have you been to Australia?
Yes,
okay.
Yeah, that was years ago. It's quite far though, so I'm not going to be going every other day. I have actually got 6 radio interviews coming up in Melbourne. I think that starts in a couple of weeks' time. I've also got 2 radio interviews in Dubai, and then I've got 6 radio interviews in Melbourne, 2 in Dubai, and then I've got 2 in Sydney, and then I've got some around America and Canada, which I'll be doing phone interviews on. Yeah.
Are the radio ones in Dubai? You're going there, or
I'm going there for those. The Australian ones I'll be doing by phone.
Okay. So, in fact, I'm supposed to go to Dubai myself in a few months. So it should be fun.
I'm going to be there for 2 days, though.
Yeah, I probably won't be there for that much longer either, but it'll be in a couple of months.
I've heard it's lovely, though.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It is a beautiful place.
Yeah.
Warm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bring your swimming costume.
Yeah. I'm just going to turn up in my swimming trunks.
That's all you need there. Anyway, here it is. It's called Some Forgive on Radio Harrow.
You
There he is, Gaz Reynolds on Radio Harrow, Some Forgive. And this is the song that goes on and on.
Yeah, it's got that long dramatic ending towards the end. I was hoping to have an exclusive mix of this track for you, just for your show, because one of my producers out in Peru is remixing it, but he hasn't finished it in time, unfortunately.
Okay. Well, you can send it along, and I'll play it on another day.
Yeah.
Probably we'll get it into the system. Might even sneak it into the rotation.
Ooh.
Yeah, so we could do that. Anyway, it's still going in the background. You can hear it. It is coming up, by the way, on 9:29. In just a few seconds, we will have a news update at the bottom of the hour here on Radio Harrow. We're with Gaz Reynolds of World Domination Records and also of your driving school. What's the name of the driving school again?
Great Drive, GR8 Drive. It's if you Google it, it comes up as one of the top driving schools for Harrow and all the surrounding areas, including London.
Okay, and we will be talking during the next few minutes about some driving safety issues. One of my pet peeves we've talked about before.
Radio Harrow's 60 Days of Summer.
And we are, of course, in our 60 Days of Summer here at Radio Harrow, and you have an opportunity to join in the fun by going to our website, www.radioharrow.org/summer. And there you'll have a chance to vote for your 5 favorite songs of summer. Gaz, do you have any favorite songs of summer that aren't your own songs?
Well, no, I like anything that's upbeat and summery. Nothing really comes to mind, but one of my all-time favourite songs is by an old friend of mine, Pete Burns, You Spin Me Round Like a Record.
Oh, what a great song that is.
Yeah.
Wonderful song. Anyway, that could be one of your favorite summer songs. Doesn't have to have the word summer in it. Summer in the city is very obvious. Summer breeze.
For me, anything that's upbeat, that's released in the summer or reminds me of the summer is a summer record for me. Yeah,
it could be something about a lost love. And when you go to our website, you can not only put in your 5 favorite songs, you can also tell why, what makes you think about summer when you hear that song. I was listening to My Sharona a few days ago. It came up on the rotation by the Knack, and it brought back memories of a summer I spent in Baltimore. And just hearing it, I hadn't thought about it in years, my life in Baltimore, and listening to My Sharona would be on the list. What we're going to do on the bank holiday, 31st of August, we're going to count down your votes for the top 100 favorite songs of summer. So you get to help form our show for the 31st of August. Participate, keep it right here on Radio Harrow.
This is Breakfast.
Radio Harrow.
And we are with our guest, Gaz Reynolds, here on Radio Harrow. Now, Gaz, I'm an inspiring young musician.
I know, you told me on one of the previous shows that I was on.
Yeah, well, but I'm thinking more rhetorically speaking. I'm an aspiring old musician in my case, but say I'm a young musician,
right,
and I would like the world to hear my music. What did they do? What did they want to do?
Well, the great thing about the music industry these days and the world that we live in is that we've got social media. Basically how I started, when I first started in the music industry, which I might add is a very tough industry to be in. So you have to be very, very determined to sort of break the mould, really, and get through, because there's so many people trying to be in the music industry. But the great thing is social media is the way to go now. Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. Even if how I started out is I used to just get a few friends together, get a little camera crew together, and we'd be in some country somewhere, and suddenly we're shooting a video. So it was all done very low budget, and very, 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 very quickly it was done. And all the new stuff that I'm working on is all much bigger budget. So it'll be interesting to compare the two later on. But the thing is, on YouTube, if you type in Gaz Reynolds, I've had around about, I think we're close to 6.5 million views, I was told now, for various videos. I do a lot of video blogging as well, not just to do with my record label or my own music, but also to do with my driving school, and I actually interview some of the pupils, including some of the celebrity pupils that come to the school. So it's all good publicity as well. That I guess is a little bit unusual. I've got the driving school and the record label and the music career, but they all seem to be accepted and intermingle.
All right, now, do you take new people to your record label?
Yes, we're always looking for new artists. So, but it really it's a dance label, but we also specialise in alternative music. So there's a few alternative acts on there as well. Most of the artists, because I'm well connected in the media industry, sort of around the world, so I've managed to get most of the artists on TV and radio shows. So that's been very helpful as well. And of course, then we make sure everything's on YouTube. And you know, like I said, it literally goes into millions and millions and millions of views, and the views are going up every single day. So even being on this show today, I'm sure people are listening in, but probably somebody's going to Google somewhere and end up on YouTube.
Now, one of the questions, of course, is that some artists give away some of their music to get exposure. Is that a good way to go, bad way to go?
Well, on my new website that we've just launched, there's 4 free tracks on there, and there's, I think off the top of my head, 4 free ringtones as well that you can download onto your phone. So, in terms of, I mean, certainly you want to have a website as well. That's another good way of promoting. And any artist also, there's a lot of free music promotion sites that you can go to. There's also the alternative of self-releasing, or you can try and get distribution like I did. I managed to get a distribution deal in New York, and so all my releases are released worldwide on iTunes and Spotify and anywhere you can think of, Amazon, etc.
Right. We've got another track coming up. Do you want to tell us a little bit about this one?
Yes, I can't remember which one we've got loaded up now.
I think
Plastic Girl, isn't it?
Yes, good. Because I couldn't remember either, and that's the one I thought it was.
Interesting story behind this one, because this is an old track as well from my Orgasmic album, but there are various versions of this, and there's some quite up-to-date modern dance versions which you can hear on YouTube, etc. And this is about a woman who was kind of stalking me years ago. It's a long story. So I decided to write a song around it. I felt quite inspired by the whole situation, and so we came up with Plastic Girl.
Okay, here it is. Here's Plastic Girl on Radio Harrow. That's an odd ending. That's Plastic Girl here on Radio.
Person.
Plastic Girl here on Radio Harrow. We're going to talk about driving in just a moment, but before we do that, I need to tell everybody about the wonderful Radio Harrow is involved in. It's the Harrow Town Center's Summer Festival with a beach theme. Now, Harrow, is, as you know, is not by a beach. I was thinking if we could get a hold of Billy Ocean, maybe that would help.
Or we are kind of near a beach in a way, Ruislip Lido, which does come under the Harrow postcode, or part comes under the Harrow postcode.
Okay. So
that's about the closest we can get. Or yeah. I could bring in a bag of sand.
Well, that's one thing. You could bring some sand to the Harrow Town Center. They're going to have apparently a giant beach chair. I don't. Oh. Well, waiting to see this, but it all takes place next Saturday, the 1st of August. And after my show, I'm going to head on down there, and we kick things off at 12 o'clock. We've got some great local guests that will be there broadcasting and performing through the day, including Alina B., Kidology, Mary Segeda, Kidtastic. I was thinking we mix Kidtastic and Kidology up, and they have like a rumble. Because one's a rap group and one's a dance group. So I think they go well together. Jack Hennessy, which is not something that you drink, though it sounds like it might be. Tom Livingstone, Charlie Brown, All Night Fire, and Sean Toomey. They'll all be there. Sean Toomey's been my guest a couple of times here on Radio Harrow. Now, I'm going to have a difficult time with Tom Livingstone, not asking him, saying, "Oh, Tom Livingstone," I presume. I won't be able to help myself. Those bad jokes are what I do about. So, anyway, this is Radio Harrow. Now, you have your driving school, which you've mentioned, and you also have had some celebrity students. I have, first of all, a question.
Yep.
If I need, at some point in time in my life, if I ever want to drive again,
yes.
Here in the UK, yep. I have my US driver's license, but because I've waited too long to get my British license, I now have to sit the exam
You'll
again.
have to go through the whole process, there's a brand new process coming in, which is kind of based on the old process, but there's new elements being added to the new driving test. So basically for yourself or anybody wanting to learn to drive and obtain a UK licence, you'll have to go through the theory test, which is kind of like 5 mini exams in one exam. Once you've passed that, then you can take the practical driving test, and that's where from September we've got a brand new driving test coming in. Even I don't know everything that's involved in the brand new driving test yet, but I do know that they're going to be using sat-navs. The questions, there's been some debate over this, whether, because you get asked 2 questions on the current driving test, and they're both both the questions are at the beginning of the driving test, but I think what they're going to planning to do is make the test a little bit more complicated. So they're going to have 1 question at the beginning and then 1 in the middle of the test, which sounds a bit odd to me, because once you've got somebody out on the road and they're usually a bit nervous, they really want to just get the test over and done with. But there's some new manoeuvres coming in as well, and the standards obviously going to be a lot higher.
Which is a good thing. Now, one of my questions is, somebody my size, first of all, is the test taken in my car or in your car?
Well, you take it in usually you take it in your driving instructor's car, but you can take your own car, providing it's insured for the purpose of the test, because the examiner is not your driving instructor, so they have to be insured. So some people's insurance on their car might not cover driving tests, and some insurance companies are a bit funny about that, because it's a learner driver in the car with no dual controls usually in the car. So my car's fitted with dual controls, and obviously I'm qualified. I've had to go through 3 exams too, and they're not easy exams, by the way. They're very tough exams.
So what would you do then with a person of my size to be able to get me in your car?
I don't know why you always say about your size.
Well,
I have all sizes in the car.
so I could fit in that car and be able to drive?
Yes, you would be able to fit in that car, and you'd be able to drive.
Yeah, one of the last cars I drove was a Mercedes in South Africa, and I needed a shoehorn to get myself out of it. And I had my son with me, my son, who at the time was, I think he had turned 19, and kept telling me, but I can drive. I'm like, yeah, but you can drive in Arusha, which is a small little village. This is Johannesburg. You've never been to Johannesburg.
Busy town area.
And he's like, don't worry, Dad. I can do it. And then finally I said, all right, go ahead. And I figured, what's the worst that could happen? I've lived a nice life. He actually was an amazingly good driver. I give him all sorts of credit. He did a great job, and because I just couldn't fit behind the wheel of the car, it was really.
I think a lot of people these days are quite, learner drivers that are coming into learning to drive. They're a little bit surprised at what's actually involved in actually the process of learning to drive, and how many things they need to remember for the actual driving test. The actual test. I sit in on all of the tests that I go on with my clients, which there's various reasons why I do that. Number one, support, so it makes the person on the test feel morally supported, but also so that I can see what they're actually doing. So if anything does go wrong on the test, which hopefully it doesn't, but if it does, then I can see firsthand how to correct that problem. It's usually people forgetting things due to nerves.
Now, somebody like me who has driven for many, many years and driven in a lot of difficult situations. I used to drive in Nairobi, where there are no laws in Nairobi. You drive and you avoid the people. Especially difficult if you're not African, because when in a place like Nairobi, people trying to cross the street, they would see a white face, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but they'd see a white face and they'd know that I would stop for them. So they would have no qualms about jumping out in front of me to cross the street. And it made me constantly have to be aware, and I could almost tell they were sort of leaning as people were going by, and they'd see me, and I know I'd have to stop because they were going to jump in front of me and cross the street.
Well, I tried driving in India, and it was the most dangerous thing that I ever did, and I also tried driving in Russia, and that was even more dangerous than driving in India. But they tend to drive on the pavement there, and everybody runs off into the road.
Yeah. And in India, of course, you drive one hand on the horn the whole time.
Yes, all the time.
All the time.
All the time.
But in my case, somebody that has driven for many, many years, would you find that a more difficult student or an easier student?
No, generally more difficult, because the people that have driving experience and maybe have come from another country and then they want to obtain a UK driving licence. It's a good question, by the way. They tend to have a preconceived idea that they're a good driver, And obviously, from a qualified driving instructor's point of view, I'm there to find faults. So, and usually the experienced driver doesn't like to hear that they've got driving faults. So quite often you have these situations where people start getting quite angry in the car. Oh, you're saying that I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that, but that's actually what the job involves. I'm not there to intimidate people, I'm there to point out what the faults are so that they can get them fixed, so that when they go in front of the examiner can then, hopefully doesn't identify any faults. That's the whole idea of the test, really. You're only allowed 15 minor errors and no serious or dangerous ones.
I use several drivers because I don't drive, so I have car services that pick me up, and there are a number of drivers in the rotation, so I never really know who I'm going to get. Something they all do, which makes me absolutely crazy, is when they're coming up, especially like to my office, which means making a right-hand turn across traffic, and they'll slow down to wait for the oncoming cars to pass, but they will already start to turn the wheel to the right.
It's
so
really dangerous. Yeah, it's really dangerous because they're starting to go over into the other side of the road.
And all it takes is for somebody to just tap them lightly from behind. What would be a minor little prang ends up being a head-on collision.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, or you could be blocking the other driver on the other side of the road. And it might not be a car; it might be a motorbike or a cyclist, or it could be anything, couldn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
So, and it's something that, and you sit there and say, you're a professional driver, you should know better. But at the same time, if you get these guys angry with you, the next time you need to get to the studio on time, oh yes, I'm running just a little bit late because I'm such a bad driver.
Yeah.
So it's a mixed bag there, that one.
Yeah.
Just trying to think. What are some of the more dangerous things that people do?
Well, I don't know if I told you this before, but I'm guessing you've heard of Nick Ferrari on LBC Radio.
Yep.
He hired me in on his show. This was going back a couple of years ago now. That's why my car's got as featured on LBC Radio, and I've got a brand new car coming soon, and it's going to say as featured on Radio Harrow as well.
Great.
So we'll have the logo on the car. Nick Ferrari hired me to be on his show, and I conducted a driving test on air with a guy that's been driving for 18 years. It was an experiment, really. I think we had 5.5 million people tune in, though. There was sort of a large population, a large part of the population actually tuned in from the UK. So I did this live show, driving test on air, and yes, it highlighted some dangerous faults, shall I say. I won't go into too much detail now. But you can hear the show on YouTube. If you just type in Gaz Reynolds, it comes up.
Okay, so what is probably, texting is another thing, and these
well,
drivers...
this is something I was just about to say, that you see a lot of people. I don't know if you saw that woman who was on the news the other week. She was driving to work with a bowl of cereal in her hand, and a cyclist actually filmed her, told her that she was extremely dangerous, and then emailed it to the local authorities, and she has been prosecuted and banned from driving. She was actually driving along. You can see this on YouTube as well. Just type in, I think it's a woman driving whilst eating cornflakes. And she's actually driving along with no hands on the steering wheel, and she's just spooning her cornflakes in. And you see all kinds of things on the road. But what I tell all my clients is that watch out for pedestrians, because one of the biggest things that's going on now is people are distracted with iPhones, texting away, or they're on their iPad and they'll be doing something, gadgets basically. Pedestrians walk straight out in the road. I've got a friend who's a bus driver. I think he's listening in from Spain today because he's out there. I was supposed to be going with him, couldn't go due to my schedule, but he's a bus driver, and all the time he's got people walking straight out in front of the bus. They just assume that the bus is going to stop. So it's not just in Africa where you were saying.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people just tend to think, learner driver coming with an instructor, they'll stop. So I've taught all my pupils, as soon as you identify anyone that you think might cause you to slow down or stop, you should check your centre mirror to see if there's anybody behind you. You should be planning ahead for those situations to avoid the accident.
Yeah. which is very important. Texting is something, and they're even talking about people that are doing FaceTimes on their phone.
Well, you've got
whilst driving.
you see them doing it. I actually saw a girl just a couple of days ago, and she was taking photographs of herself with both hands off the steering wheel whilst the car was moving. Yeah. You see this all the time. People on their phones talking. Look, come on, we've got hands-free kits now. But really, you shouldn't be using your phone at all, because it's a distraction.
And sat-navs, good thing or bad thing?
Well, I use sat-nav all the time. I think if it was for somebody who's just passed their driving test and they're using a sat-nav, I think that could be quite distracting, because I remember when I passed my driving test, the first thing I wanted to do is have loud music cranked up in the car. Great fun, but very distracting. But of course, over the years, you develop these skills where you can concentrate on listening to music, listening to a sat-nav, etc. But I think sat-navs are very useful in many ways.
Okay, Gaz, I hate to say it, it's time for us to go. It's already time for news coming up at the top of the hour. Our guest has been Gaz Reynolds here on Radio Harrow. Thanks again, Gaz Reynolds, World Domination Records, plus Great Driving School.
Great Drive. GRA Drive.
Great Drive.
Thanks very much for having me, Gary.
Gaz, we'll hope to see you again soon.